Imagine this. You wake up one morning thinking your life is perfect. You have a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a future that seems as bright as the sun. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything shatters. The man you trusted more than anyone in the world betrays you in the most devastating way possible. He's been having an affair, and not just a fleeting mistake, but a full-blown, life-altering betrayal that leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and yourself. This is the story of Emily Carter, a woman who had it all until she didn't. But what happens next will leave you on the edge of your seat, because Emily's journey isn't just about heartbreak. It's about revenge, redemption, and a comeback so powerful that it will leave her husband and maybe even you completely speechless. Stick around, because this is one story you won't want to miss. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another story about betrayal? Haven't I heard this before? But trust me, this isn't your typical tale of infidelity. This is a story about resilience, about finding strength you never knew you had, and about turning your darkest moments into your greatest victories. It's about how one woman took the pain of betrayal and used it to fuel a transformation so extraordinary that it changed her life and the lives of everyone around her forever. And here's the thing, you're not just going to hear about Emily's story. You're going to feel it. You're going to experience every twist, every turn, every moment of despair and triumph right alongside her. Because this isn't just her story, it's a story for anyone who's ever been knocked down and wondered if they had the strength to get back up. Let's talk about Emily for a moment. She's not some distant character, and Emily Carter's life wasn't always a whirlwind of chaos and heartbreak. In fact, for years, it was the picture of stability and contentment. She and Mark had met in college, two young dreamers with big plans and even bigger hearts. Their love story was the kind people envied, sweet, steady, and seemingly unshakable. They built a life together, one brick at a time, creating a home filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the kind of trust that feels unbreakable. Emily was the glue that held everything together, the kind of woman who could juggle a demanding career, a bustling social life, and a marriage with effortless grace. She was the friend everyone turned to for advice, the coworker who always went above and beyond, and the wife who made it all look easy. But beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life, there were cracks that Emily didn't see until it was too late. Mark, on the other hand, was the kind of man who thrived on admiration. Charming, ambitious, and always the life of the party. He had a way of making people feel special, like they were the only ones in the room. But that charm came with a price. Over the years, Emily had noticed little things, flirtatious comments, late nights at work, a growing distance between them. She brushed them off, telling herself that every marriage had its ups and downs, that Mark's behavior was just a phase. But deep down, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered that something wasn't right. Still, she pushed those doubts aside, determined to believe in the man she married. After all, they had been through so much together, how could he possibly betray her? The truth, as it often does, came crashing down when Emily least expected it. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and she had come home early from work, hoping to surprise Mark with his favorite dinner. But the surprise was on her. As she walked through the door, she heard voices soft, intimate, and unmistakably not meant for her ears. Her heart sank as she followed the sound to their bedroom, where she found Mark in the arms of another woman. The scene was like something out of a nightmare, a cruel twist of fate that left Emily frozen in place, her mind racing to make sense of what she was seeing. The woman young, beautiful, and everything. Emily suddenly felt she wasn't looked up, her eyes wide with shock. Mark turned, his face pale, and in that moment, Emily's world shattered into a million pieces. But this wasn't just a simple affair. As the days turned into weeks, Emily began to uncover the full extent of Mark's betrayal. It wasn't just one woman, it was a pattern, a series of lies and secrets that stretched back years. There were text messages, emails, and even financial transactions that painted a picture of a man who had been living a double life. And then there was the money. Emily discovered that Mark had been siphoning funds from their joint accounts, using their hard-earned savings to fund his escapades. The man she thought she knew, the man she had built her life around, was a stranger, someone capable of deceit on a level she could never have imagined. As the pieces of the puzzle came together, Emily found herself grappling with emotions she couldn't even name. There was anger, of course, but also a deep, aching sadness that seemed to seep into every corner of her life. She felt lost, adrift in a sea of questions with no answers. How could she have been so blind? How could she have trusted someone so completely, only to have that trust thrown back in her face? And perhaps most importantly, what was she supposed to do now? The life she had worked so hard to build was gone, and in its place was a void that seemed impossible to fill. But Emily wasn't alone in her pain. As word of Mark's betrayal spread, she found herself surrounded by a network of friends and family who were determined to help her pick up the pieces. There was Sarah, her best friend since childhood, who dropped everything to be by her side. There was her sister, Claire, who offered a shoulder to cry on and a fierce determination to see justice done. And then there was James, an old friend from college who had always harbored feelings for Emily. His presence was a comfort, a reminder that not all men were like Mark, and that there was still goodness in the world. As Emily began to rebuild her life, she found herself drawn into a web of intrigue that went far beyond her personal heartbreak. There were rumors about Mark's business dealings, whispers of shady deals and illegal activities that made her wonder just how deep his deception went. She began to dig, uncovering secrets that even Mark had tried to keep buried. And then there was the other woman, the one she had caught him with. Her name was Vanessa, and she wasn't just a random fling. She was someone with her own agenda, someone who had her own reasons for getting close to Mark. As Emily delved deeper, she began to realize that Vanessa might hold the key to unraveling the entire mystery. But Vanessa wasn't talking, and the more Emily pushed, the more dangerous things became. The tension between Emily and Mark reached a boiling point, with each confrontation more explosive than the last. Mark, desperate to salvage what was left of his reputation, tried to manipulate Emily into silence, using every trick in the book to make her doubt herself. But Emily was done playing his games. She had been broken, yes, but she was far from defeated. With the support of her friends and the fire of her own determination, she began to fight back. She hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and started to rebuild her life on her own terms. But even as she took those steps, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something darker, something more dangerous than she had ever imagined. And then there was the question of Vanessa. Who was she, really? What did she want from Mark? And why had she chosen to insert herself into their lives? Emily's curiosity turned into obsession as she began to piece together the fragments of Vanessa's past. What she found was a woman with secrets of her own, a woman who had been hurt in ways that mirrored Emily's own pain. But Vanessa wasn't just a victim, she was a player in a game that Emily didn't fully understand. And as the two women's paths continued to cross, it became clear that their fates were intertwined in ways neither of them could have predicted. As the story unfolds, the stakes grow higher, the tension thicker, and the mystery deeper. Emily's journey is one of self-discovery, of finding strength in the face of unimaginable pain, and of learning to trust herself again. But it's also a story of revenge, of justice, and of the lengths we'll go to when we've been pushed too far. And just when you think you know where this story is headed, Emily uncovers a secret so shocking, so unexpected, that it changes everything. But that's a revelation for another time. For now, all you need to know is this. Emily Carter is a woman on a mission, and she's not stopping until she gets the answers she deserves. So stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. Emily's life had become a whirlwind of secrets, lies, and unexpected alliances. Every step she took to uncover the truth about Mark and Vanessa seemed to lead her deeper into a labyrinth of deception. The more she dug, the more she realized that Mark's betrayal was just the tip of the iceberg. There were layers to this story that she hadn't even begun to unravel, and each revelation brought with it a new wave of shock and disbelief. But Emily wasn't the kind of woman to back down, not when she had come this far. She was determined to see this through, no matter how dangerous it got. One of the most shocking discoveries came when Emily decided to confront Vanessa. What started as a tense conversation quickly turned into something far more revealing. Vanessa, it seemed, had her own reasons for being involved with Mark, reasons that had nothing to do with love or attraction. She revealed that Mark had been involved in a series of illegal business dealings, using his charm and connections to manipulate people and cover his tracks. Vanessa had been one of his pawns, drawn into his web with promises of money and security, only to find herself trapped in a situation she couldn't escape. But Vanessa wasn't just a victim. She had her own agenda, and she was willing to do whatever it took to get what she wanted. As Emily listened, she began to see Vanessa in a new light, not as the enemy, but as someone who had been caught in the same web of lies and deceit that had ensnared her. But Vanessa's revelations didn't stop there. She dropped a bombshell that left Emily reeling. Mark wasn't just involved in illegal activities, he was being investigated by the FBI. The man Emily had married, the man she had trusted with her life, was at the center of a federal investigation. The implications were staggering. If Mark was caught, everything they had built together, their home, their finances, their reputation, would be destroyed. But even more shocking was the realization that Emily herself could be implicated. She had signed documents, made financial decisions, and been a part of Mark's life in ways that could now come back to haunt her. The stakes had just gotten a whole lot higher, and Emily knew she had to act fast. As Emily grappled with this new information, she found herself drawn into a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Mark, sensing that Emily was onto him, began to tighten his grip, using every trick in the book to keep her in line. He manipulated her emotions, played on her insecurities, and even threatened to take everything she had if she didn't back down. But Emily was no longer the woman who had been blindsided by his betrayal. She had found a strength she didn't know she had, a determination to fight for herself and her future. With the help of her lawyer, she began to build a case against Mark, gathering evidence and documenting his lies. But even as she worked to protect herself, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that Mark was always one step ahead. The tension between Emily and Mark reached a fever pitch, with each confrontation more explosive than the last. Mark, desperate to maintain control, tried to turn the tables on Emily, accusing her of being the one who had betrayed him. He painted himself as the victim, a man who had been driven to infidelity by Emily's neglect and coldness. It was a classic manipulation tactic, one designed to make Emily doubt herself and her memories. But Emily wasn't falling for it. She had seen through Mark's lies, and she wasn't going to let him rewrite their history. She stood her ground, refusing to be intimidated, and in doing so, she began to reclaim her power. But just when Emily thought she had the upper hand, an unexpected twist threw everything into chaos. Vanessa, who had been an ally of sorts, suddenly disappeared. One day, she was there, sharing information and helping Emily piece together the puzzle. The next, she was gone, leaving behind only a cryptic note that read, "Be careful. He's more dangerous than you think." Emily was left with more questions than answers. What had Vanessa discovered that had made her flee? What was Mark capable of that Emily didn't know? And most importantly, was she in danger? The disappearance of Vanessa added a new layer of urgency to Emily's quest for the truth. She began to dig deeper, uncovering connections between Mark and a shadowy network of individuals involved in everything from money laundering to blackmail. The more she uncovered, the more she realized that Mark's betrayal was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. There were powerful people involved, people who would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. Emily knew she was playing with fire, but she also knew she couldn't stop now. She had come too far to turn back. As the story hurtles toward its climax, the stakes have never been higher. Emily is caught in a web of danger and deceit, fighting not just for justice, but for her very survival. The lines between friend and foe have blurred, and trust is a luxury she can no longer afford. But one thing is clear: Emily Carter is not the woman she was when this story began. She has been forged in the fire of betrayal, and she is stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever. The question is, will it be enough? Will she be able to outmaneuver Mark and his allies, Or will she become just another casualty in their dangerous game? The answers lie just around the corner. But one thing is certain, the final act of this story will leave you breathless. Stay tuned because the best and most shocking is yet to come. Emily's world had become a high-stakes chessboard, and every move she made felt like it could be her last. With Vanessa's sudden disappearance, the sense of danger around her grew palpable. The cryptic note Vanessa left behind haunted her, a constant reminder that Mark was far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. But Emily wasn't one to back down, not when she had come this far. She knew she had to confront Mark head-on to expose his lies and bring his empire of deceit crashing down. What she didn't know was that the final act of this story would be more explosive and more shocking than anything she could have anticipated. The turning point came when Emily received an anonymous package in the mail. Inside was a USB drive containing files that detailed Mark's illegal activities, bank records, incriminating emails, and even recordings of conversations that implicated him in crimes far worse than she had ever imagined. It was a goldmine of evidence, the kind that could bring Mark to his knees. But who had sent it? Was it Vanessa, trying to help her from the shadows? Or was it someone else, someone with their own reasons for wanting Mark destroyed? Emily didn't have time to ponder the mystery. She knew she had to act fast before Mark realized what she had. With the help of her lawyer, she handed the evidence over to the FBI, setting in motion a chain of events that would change everything. The fallout was swift and brutal. Mark was arrested in a dramatic early morning raid, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him as federal agents seized his assets and froze his accounts. The news spread like wildfire, and suddenly, Emily found herself at the center of a media storm. Reporters hounded her for comments, and strangers weighed in on her story, some praising her courage, others questioning her motives. But Emily didn't care about the noise. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of relief, a glimmer of hope that she could finally move on with her life. But just when she thought the worst was behind her, the final twist arrived, one that would leave her, and everyone watching, in complete awe. As the investigation into Mark's crimes deepened, a shocking truth came to light. Vanessa hadn't just been a pawn in Mark's game, she had been working undercover for the FBI all along. Her disappearance wasn't an escape. It was part of a carefully orchestrated plan to bring Mark down. Vanessa had been planted in Mark's life to gather evidence, and her relationship with him had been nothing more than a ruse. When Emily learned the truth, she was stunned. All this time, she had seen Vanessa as a rival, a threat, but in reality, Vanessa had been her greatest ally. The two women finally met face to face, and in that moment, there was an unspoken understanding between them. They had both been hurt by Mark, both used as tools in his game, but they had also both found the strength to fight back. With Mark behind bars and the truth finally exposed, Emily began to rebuild her life. She sold the house she had shared with Mark, using the money to start fresh. She reconnected with old friends, rediscovered passions she had set aside, and even began to explore the possibility of love again, this time with James, the friend who had stood by her through it all. But the most important thing Emily gained was something she had lost long ago: her sense of self. She had been through hell and back, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to live life on her own terms. The story of Emily Carter is one of resilience, of finding light in the darkest of places, and of refusing to let betrayal define you. It's a story that reminds us that no matter how broken we feel, we have the power to pick up the pieces and rebuild. And it's a story that proves that sometimes the people we see as enemies are actually the ones who help us find our way. As Emily looks back on everything she's been through, she knows that the journey wasn't easy, but it was worth it. She's no longer the woman who lost everything to her husband's affair. She's the woman who came back stronger, and in doing so, left everyone, including Mark, completely speechless. So, what's the takeaway from Emily's story? It's simple. No matter how hard life knocks you down, you have the power to rise again. Betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the beginning of a new chapter, one where you take control and write your own ending. Emily's journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are capable of incredible things. If her story has taught us anything, it's that the comeback is always greater than the setback. And that, my friends, is a lesson worth remembering. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never stop fighting for the life you deserve.